You're listening to The Big League.
Ton of stuff happened last night.
I think the Leafs have to win that one.
This year, Toronto Maple Leafs are going to win Stanley Cup championship.
The Jays would pick up Bumgardner from the Giants.
Whoa. Quite a huge game. He put up 30 points.
You can't suspend him for that. You can look into
I
it
think
as much.
you could. Toronto Raptors raise the banner.
If they get by Boston, do you think they have a legit shot at winning the Stanley Cup this year?
You're listening to The Big League with Aiden Silphant and Connor Somerville.
Hello and welcome to the Big League Show. Once again, I am Connor Somerville, as always joined by Aiden Silphant, and today, well, it's a little different. You may recognize this man next to me or above me or wherever I am on the video as Zach Finch. He is the host of the Finch and the Pharaoh, which was on Spirit Live for the past 3 semesters, I believe. 3 or 4 semesters.
I think we got a 4th semester in. Yeah, we did.
Okay,
and then things got cut a little bit short.
4th semester, he is a good friend of ours. He's been on the show before. If you've listened, I believe you've come on twice, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I believe so.
And right now you're doing an ENHL stream video component thing, which we'll get into a bit later. But we're doing a new thing with the show where we're going to bring on a guest every week or every other week that is in sport media or an upcoming sport media student and get to know them a little bit. Because obviously, as sport media students, it's been difficult to get your name out there. And I think this is a good place for people to understand just that there are so many different people that go into sport media. So we're starting off with you, Zach. Before we jump into who you are and everything about that, how are you two doing right now in quarantine, and how bad are your quarantine haircuts?
And I'll let you start that one off.
I mean, mine kind of speaks for itself, I guess. I'm trying to keep it as short as possible, and occasionally I'm just getting the scissors and cutting a little bit at the top, a little bit at the back. I don't want you guys seeing the back because I kind of messed that up a little bit while cutting. I think it's a little bit better now, but no, yeah, it's been bad. I'm in desperate need of a haircut, but not in terms of hair. I'm doing okay. Back to work this week, so that was pretty crazy. Yeah, just hanging in there, trying to stay safe. Spending a lot of time with family. And yeah, Zach, what have you been up to?
Not a whole lot of nothing, Aiden and Connor. I don't really know what else to really say. Of course, the ENHL thing, which we'll get into later. But just honestly been hanging out. Haven't touched my hair at all. Haven't even tried clipping anything off. We did have the opportunity. We actually cut my dad's hair because our neighbors brought just they disinfected this whole hair cutting thing they had. So my dad got his, then I was like shaking just watching him get one. So I was like, there's no way I'm letting my family cut my hair. So I'm gonna wait 2 more weeks max, and then if it gets a little too long, which it's it's already kind of getting there, I might have to bite the bullet.
It doesn't even look that bad. It looks kind of short still.
I know,
it looks you
it's
just got a haircut.
It's just because it's so thick, right? It's just I can just put it up and get it out of my face, right? But yeah, don't worry. Especially what you said about the back, Aiden. It's getting there, kind of the same for me, except it's kind of branching out a little bit. So soon, hopefully soon.
As someone with curly hair and who has run that into that issue, I still haven't cut myself hair, but it's starting to curl at the back and little loops at the very bottom. It's a big
in terms of the
no-go.
front though, it's looking good. It doesn't look too long. It doesn't look messy at all.
Well, it helps when I showered an hour ago, but
put the gel
a little behind the
make
scenes.
it slick.
Trying, I don't know. I don't use gel or paste or anything, so I'm lucky on that front. But it's getting to the point where you're contemplating having family do it, and even as hard as that may be, and how much trust that's going to take, it's going to be. It's a tough one.
It's a teeter-totter. It's it's how much you trust your family versus how much you really, really need the haircut. So I think it's starting to
Or you could just pull a Hunter.
And just shave it all off. Yeah. Oh, man. I don't know. I'm not in it for long.
Yeah, I'm not willing to do that.
If I were to do it, I would have done it right away because then it would have been a decent length. But I waited too long, and I was never really going to do it to start. I don't know. I just don't think it works with me.
Yeah, you have to have the right shaped head for that sort of thing.
Yeah. I feel like I'm too oval
I
shaped.
definitely don't have. Yeah.
I don't think any of us
Michael
do.
Bradley.
Yeah.
No, yeah. But I guess off the hair, because who wants to hear about hair the entire time? Let's talk about you, Zach, for a little bit, because
All right.
Obviously, you are our first guest of the quarantine. Who are you? Sport media people thing. We still have to come up with a name for it section. So we're gonna do each episode. I think we're gonna do this. Just get the quick fire questions out of the way. Just get a little bit about you and what you're doing and what you want to do and things like that. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna fire off these questions or statements. You got to answer them as fast as you can.
It's fast.
And
Okay.
then
Oh, now there's pressure. Okay.
yeah, we'll get into the more in-depth stuff in a little bit.
Sounds
So,
good.
Quick fire starting now. Age.
19.
Where are you from?
Oakville.
Where'd you grow up?
Oakville.
High school. What high school did you go to?
Iroquois Ridge High School. Go
Yeah.
Trailblazers.
Oh.
Yeah, a little Oakville
All right.
rivalry here going on.
Oh, nice. University year.
We're going into third year, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah. There's
That's
an
a good
asterisk.
answer.
We'll see.
Yep.
Sports you've played competitively.
Hockey, baseball, track, and volleyball.
All right. And who are your teams?
The Montreal Canadiens, the Toronto Blue Jays, the Toronto Raptors, and the New England Patriots.
Oh, my God.
Isn't
gotta
that?
really-
Isn't
I didn't,
that-
I didn't
isn't-
know that. I didn't know
isn't
about
that
the
a mix?
Patriots.
No, you didn't. Yeah. So
No.
everyone always grills me for it. They're like, oh, the bandwagon, Tom Brady, but
Yeah.
and as much
the
as
bandwagon.
yeah, exactly. So everyone's like, oh, you just choose the best team. And I've been a Habs fan most of my life, and they haven't won jack. So so there's that. And other thing is, I got a Tom Brady jersey when I was 7 years old, and I didn't know what the heck football was. And I was like, oh, I guess I'll just follow this team, and they happen to be the New England Patriots. If I got like a Cleveland Browns jersey, it would have been them, and I would have been screwed. So I don't remember who got me the gift, but whoever did, thank you. Although it's starting to bite me in the rear end nowadays because things seem to be turning over in New England. So
Oh, well, it was good while it lasted. They
yeah,
had a
and,
great
it was
run. So
at least I had a sports team that was winning.
Yeah.
When I was younger, of course, the Raptors, huge last year. But yeah, those are my teams.
I guess.
Yeah, it's a very interesting mix.
Yeah.
I think as you pointed out, Habs, you got a New England, Boston, you got
Yeah,
Montreal, and you got
Which-
Toronto.
which I hate. I hate that it's in Boston because I hate every single Boston team. And because hockey is all on my dad's side of the family in terms of where I got it from. So, and he lived in Montreal. So I was always the Montreal Canadiens, hated the Boston Bruins. And then I found out, like, when I was a kid, I was a dumb 7-year-old. I didn't know New England and Boston were in the same thing. Then, like, later I was like, what? New England's in Boston? I can't believe what I've done. But couldn't go back. So here we are.
And I guess a little bit of a side note, since you're a Habs fan, they made the playoffs. They actually
Yep.
got into the playoffs. because
Play-ins,
of this new-
play-ins. It's not playoffs, play-ins, which we'll get
Yeah.
into later.
Okay.
Because
okay, fine.
that's
The play-in.
Definitely
play-in
excited
round.
though, and I'll gush on that. Come later, but exciting
we're-
stuff.
We need an entirely new 40-minute Zoom call for that because
Oh yeah,
there's a lot to digest there. But as I said, we'll get into that later. Let's get a bit more in depth in terms of your interest in sport media and your interest in sports, and then we'll get into the EMLS thing that you were doing and other stuff you've done.
Not MLS. Not MLS.
I
did
know.
I say
I know.
MLS?
Yeah,
I
you
know
did.
you love soccer, and
You wish.
you're
Yeah.
probably really missing MLS right now. I think you
Oh,
are
yeah.
probably one of few people who can say
Okay.
that.
Watch it. First
In
of all,
the
there are
sport
lots
media
of us.
program.
There are lots of us. And I'm doing an MLS podcast each week, which I'm going to plug later, although I can plug it now. Check out the MLS Multiplex podcast. But
There you go.
yeah. But we were doing an EMLS segment because the MLS was putting on a tournament, FIFA tournament, with
cool.
players and the pro for each team. So I've said EMLS so many times in the last 4 weeks that it's just burned into my brain at this
Dude,
point.
I feel you. If I probably said EMLS, I'd probably say NHL. The amount of times I've said that is off the charts. So I totally understand.
Yeah, it's weird how things just get stuck in your mind and
Exactly.
you can never get them out even when you know what you're trying to say, but you say the wrong thing.
Hmm.
But yeah, off of that tangent, I think there are going to be a lot of tangents in today's show.
Oh, yeah.
Let's start off with why you chose sport media and when you decided that you wanted to get into the program in Ryerson and the industry.
Yeah, so sport media was kind of a perfect accident for me because I was obviously huge into sports when I was young. I watched like all the four North American sporting leagues when I was younger, Olympics, all of that, played the sport. So sports, a huge part of my life. And in high school, I really wanted to do film. So I really liked, media and shooting things. And come grade 11, I was interested in the Ryerson film program. So we went down to Ryerson, and then I saw a sport media table there, and I was like, well, let's take a look at this. And then I was like, oh, it's media and sports, like literally in the name. What more can you ask for? So I was like, oh, this is a perfect combination. So I went to Ryerson initially looking for film, and then I came out with it, sport media, and then the rest, I guess, was history.
Okay, and I believe you've mentioned this before on your own show, but I think you have a family member in the sport media industry. Some people might know.
Yeah, so my uncle Gord Stellick, he used to be the GM of the Leafs. Now he's at Sportsnet. Big influence. And when I was applying, it was kind of like, you should definitely do it. And his son, my cousin Justin, he, big sport media guy. I think he's gonna be, you know, following suit in a couple years when he gets old enough. But they were always, saying you should totally do this, and then my dad saying you should totally do this, and me also saying I should totally do this. It all just kind of worked out. And yeah, sport media has always been around in my life, and I knew about all the consequences, going in. How all our professors talk about, you're not going to get your Friday, Saturday nights with the family because that's when sports are going to be on. Well, like I experienced that firsthand because Thanksgiving, Christmas, sometimes he wasn't there because, there's a Leaf game on.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I kind of helped because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot about that. That's kind of crappy. But I knew that fully going in. So I feel like that kind of helped. And just having it around also, I guess, subconsciously led me to sport media.
Why do you think that you're going to be okay with that? Like having, you're not going to have that Friday night to yourself. You might not have the weekend to yourself. Why do you think you're still motivated to be in this industry when you're hearing those things?
Because some people like to, go out on Fridays and go to the bars and drink. And I'm saying I like that too. Not saying I don't, but I also really love covering sports. And, it's so cliche, but if you love what you do, it's not really a job. And it's said a million times, but it actually holds so much meaning. And again, I don't think there's any way I can word this where it doesn't sound cliche. But if you're covering, your favorite sport, like if Connor's covering MLS, then this guy's happy. If I'm covering like NHL or NBA, I'm ecstatic. So if I'm spending my Friday nights doing that, fantastic.
Yeah, agree 100%. So throughout your childhood, obviously, there's probably a lot of things that came up that influenced your decision to be in this program, whether that be like the sports that you've played or the sports teams that you've watched, etc. What are some moments that kind of stick out at you that kind of led you in this path? Was it like a goal that you scored? Was it some game that you watched? Any moments that really stick out at you in specific?
I'm actually going to say this because it was what I wrote on the paper during the interview, the live like sporting event, like what was huge. So I'm going to say exactly what I said for that paper. So huge throwback, but it's again, super cliche for a Canadian sport media, but Sidney Crosby's golden goal. I wrote
That's
about
what I
that.
said. That's what I said. Yeah.
Exactly. It was just so crazy. And like being 10, I don't remember everything when I was 10, but I sure as hell remember that. And it was crazy because like, I remember like it was just me and my family watching, and my sister and my mom don't necessarily watch hockey all the time, but they were there glued to the screen. And then when they won, like my parents just like picked us up like we were like bloody feathers. So it was like the adrenaline rush and the fact that like you saw the whole nation just, jump up and down on home soil, and you see all the little clips of everyone in the bar, all watching this broadcast. And it was, it brought everyone together, and that's, just unreal, right?
Yeah,
So what was your interview and that entire experience like when you were first applying to sport media?
Oh, the interview, I was very lucky because I also happened to get an interview for media production. And I had that interview before sport media. And the two interviews were I don't know, they're very similar. Let me just say that. And so, you know, whatever I messed up in the media production interview, I sure as hell aced in the sport media interview.
Yeah, I remember that day. I was there with you and Emil. And we were all
Yeah,
kind of like just talking amongst each other, kind of nervous, kind of not sure what to expect.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Honestly,
remember that. You got really
thank
lucky.
God you were there, man. You're like one of the few people I knew.
Yeah, exactly. Same for me at the time
Yeah,
too. I didn't even know Jackson at that
yeah.
point.
Shout out Oakville Little League Baseball.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I remember. I was gonna say, um, I think I remember. I think was that our grade 11 year, grade 12 year we played together, and
um,
I think it was grade 11.
I want to say grade 11, yeah, because
Yeah,
we were in contact throughout grade 12 still.
right. Yeah, so it was grade 11, and I remember there was another guy on our team that went to Ryerson. I don't think it was sport media that he was in, but I think it was like
He went to
film.
he went to film. He went to the
Yeah, he went to
program that I
film.
was looking at. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I remember like we would always be talking about like how to get in and like what he's doing with like his portfolio and et cetera and stuff like that. So that's kind of when we first started to get to know each other. And it's
Yeah.
crazy how we're both, you know, we both got into the program. We knew it was really hard to get in. We both got
Yeah.
in, and it's really
I
cool to
remember like
see.
we went down during, you know, orientation week, like on the train one time, like together, like during one of the days. And then so, you know, it's kind of like a good way to, you know, integrate yourself into university, because you meet so many new people, and that's been very evident through our first 2 years. But, you know, it's always nice to, you know, have someone to, you know, lean on and be there at least, you know, to start, right?
Yeah.
Because it's such a different world, and I love sport media, so it's been fantastic.
Would you say knowing people going into the program helped you a lot? Do you think that
Yes.
was not really an issue when you were coming in?
Don't get me wrong. I've met so many people. I met like you, Connor. So like that's like one example right there. And I've just met so many like different people in the program in like many different groups. So and then obviously having, you know, like my friend Jackson, shout out Finch and the Pharaoh from high school, and
Yeah.
Aiden from baseball, you know, it was nice coming in with that to, you know, establish friends with them to, uh, you know, if you can't, you know, sometimes it's tough to drive a conversation by yourself when you're meeting new people. Sometimes you need someone to bounce off of and throw an inside joke once in a while to kind of get the ball rolling. At least for me, I don't know. But yeah, when I just entered university, it was great having you guys around, and then yeah, just meeting so many new people because of that. And especially, I feel like our lab classes, a lot of people get together and you start working in groups very early on. So people meet and blossom, like, you know, friendships out of that regardless.
So what would
Yeah.
you say you've enjoyed most about the program so far then? Because obviously you were coming into something sort of knowing what was going to happen, but you also had decided sort of last minute, as opposed to years in advance, that you wanted to get into sport media. What would have been your top experiences in the program and with the people you've now met?
Oh, I love the social aspect of the program, because like sport media, since we're a smaller program and we have these lab projects, everyone works with everyone, right? So everyone knows everyone's name first and last in the program for the most part. And so I feel like, you know, just being in that social environment and just kind of doing, you know, whatever the hell you want, because you don't like really like give a crap. Like I literally just, because I wanted to, like for the What You Got TV show for one of our lab
Yep.
projects, I just did
Yep.
dancing, and it was the dumbest thing ever. I like embarrassed the hell out of myself, but like it was funny, and it was fun, and it was, you know, it got like maybe like one or two laughs. I don't know. Maybe they're laughing at me,
No,
not with me.
people were killing themselves, dude. That was
I know. I
hysterical.
know. It was like, but it was like whatever, right? You know, it's just
Yeah.
be who you want to be, and you know, there's so many different people in this program, and I feel like a lot of them mesh so well together. So, yeah, shout out sport media class of 2022.
So I guess like what's your end goal? Like if you could have any job, okay, I guess there's two parts to this question. If you could have any job in sport media, what would it be?
Any job in sport media, man, I don't want to say like I want to be like this person, but I'll say this as in like something like this. I want something like Tim and Sid,
Yeah.
because I love the radio format in sports, because it's much more, you know, free discussion. Same with the podcasting world. It's just more personalities injected to it were television, which I also love television. If I ended up there, no complaints whatsoever. I feel like, a lot of the times, like, you have to put on the makeup and do this and that, which, just like extra steps. And sometimes like you can seem not genuine, but the greats like are able to, obviously portray that. But regardless, I love the radio format and the fact that they're able to do that in a television format. Same thing as like First Take.
Mhm.
So I feel like that kind of job is, great. Like a high paying radio job pretty much is I guess that would be the bare bones definition.
So you want to be
But
Bob
yeah,
McCowan?
that'd be great too. Also,
Yeah.
play by play is always up there. So just like, again, trying everything. That's what our program's for. So you never really know until you've done it all.
What sport would you prefer to do play-by-play in if you were to do that?
Hockey, 100%.
Hockey?
First of all, baseball, I give props to whoever can do that because, hockey for me, it's just like, it's easier just to like, like see what's happening, come up with the words, and then just say it because like everything's always going on. Like something's always happening here. And then in baseball, it's just so much downtime where you just have to talk about a topic or a discussion. And man, they can just talk for hours. So I give credit, but I like hockey because I've been around it. I've played it the most. So I feel like I understand the game more. And so just because of that, I feel like describing it becomes easier.
So what would you say then have you done so far to help you follow that dream and chase that goal?
Well, Spirit Live, the Finch and the Pharaoh, that was huge. Just getting kind of a chance to produce and co-host a show in a radio format. Also, just classes in Ryerson. I took radio broadcasting. Shout out Lori Beckstan, great teacher, and like podcasting stuff. So
on the radio format?
Beyond the radio format, yes, exactly. So just doing all that stuff and, reaching out where I can, doing play-by-play things like this ENHL thing, just doing that to get reps in to practice. So just kind of doing what I want. And like, especially now in quarantine, you have a lot of time to just like try whatever, right? And you can just find clips on the internet of a hockey game with, no commentary over it and then just try it, right? So
So what would you say and describe the ENHL thing is to somebody who doesn't know what the actual format and what you're doing with that idea is, I guess?
Yeah, so basically what ENHL is basically just electronic NHL. So when the season got canceled, everyone was, super bummed. And so we just decided to sim the NHL playoffs, how the standings would have been when the season got canceled. We said sorry to the teams who played less games but were out, but we had to make a decision and we just cut them. So anyway, so it was a regular playoff format, and but we decided to do real play-by-play just to make it interesting, because if we were just streaming the regular NHL computer voices, like no one's gonna dig it. So we decided to use our own voices just to make it interesting. And it was just to start out, having fun, make a little project, maybe promote it a little bit, see where it goes. But then once we got partnered with Twitch, after getting a certain amount of followers, we basically opened our stream up to charity, because we decided if we're going to make money, we might as well just put it to good use. And so we partnered up with Project Hope, which basically provides frontline workers with materials and support during this weird time we're going through. And so basically we have like a link in the chat to donate directly through them. And then we're notified on the screen, like when a little donation pops up on Twitch, it's like, boom, they donated this much. So we can individually thank them. And then anyone who subscribes to us and we get the money from that, it goes straight to them. We can run ads on in between intermissions. So all the ad revenue goes straight to them. So basically we're just having fun with it, and, we're having fun with it and doing it for a good cause. So it's just a win-win, right?
Yeah, I applaud you guys for doing that. I think, that's something that maybe we should even consider doing, Connor, or most podcasts or streams should always consider doing that, especially now, right? Because
yeah, well, people have been doing
quarantine, and you want to raise the money for a good cause. So I really applaud you guys for doing that.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, like, people have been doing amazing things like during this, like even like on a big scale, like the whole like the concerts on like TV where it's a fundraiser, it's raised millions of dollars. Like even like UFC, like during their pay-per-view, they always have a fund you can go, and that's raised a ton of money. So everyone's doing a lot, and it's it's hopefully it's done soon, because I think everyone's getting sick and tired. Like my vitamin D levels are like running like into the basement right now. Like it is not good over here.
When do you think this whole coronavirus thing is going to come to an end? I know it's a tough question. Like we're not
Yeah,
100%
I'm not a doctor
sure,
on
but
any level.
yeah.
But biased person who just takes information on Instagram and uses it however he wants.
Same. Yeah.
I don't think it's not gonna be normal until there's a vaccine, which is what gonna come in March of next year. Come on.
At the
Like,
very earliest.
yeah, and like there's gonna be like we're gonna get let out, there's gonna be a wave, then we're like gonna have to go back in. And again, that's just me like ranting, because once they like you guys saw like Bellwood Trinity Park or whatever the heck it's called, right? Like
Yeah,
you guys saw
Trinity
that?
Bellwood.
Trinity Bellwood. There we go.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. Ugh. It was
Yeah, on
bad.
behalf of
Bad
Toronto, I
sight to see.
apologize.
Yeah.
That is not all of us. Some of us have been in our houses for
Yeah.
6 months.
Yeah. Some just watch YouTube, play video games, and watch classic sport clips.
Yeah, that's all you can do right now. You got to stay
Yeah.
inside and
Last Dance helped with that though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kept things
Still
moving.
haven't watched that. I still need to watch that.
Dude, you're missing out.
You are
What are you
missing out.
doing?
I'm back to work now, so I got a busier
guess.
schedule.
Yeah, but you weren't back to work 5 weeks ago though.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, I know. I should get on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. No, it's a great watch. Like it'll make you think MJ hit every shot he ever took in his entire life. But since I know especially like we respect features and how like they're made, and we kind of know like a little behind the scenes. You'll respect the amount of work that went into it. It's just it was great.
Nice.
Yeah. So I guess we're going to take a bit of a break, just sort of transition from Zach to the more recent news, as we were just talking about the coronavirus stuff, and we'll talk about the new NHL plan and potential other NBA news that it just broke. So for you, it'll be not even a second. For us, it'll probably be like 5 minutes, but we'll be right back. And we're back. Thank you for that half-second delay that you didn't even notice. So yeah, after we did that whole intro thing with Zach, we're going to do it with each guest. We're going to talk about the week's news afterwards as well, to get their sort of opinions and their insight, because obviously it gets a little tiresome of just Aiden and I going each week. And I think getting an idea of who these people are and some of their actual sports opinions will be helpful. And we got really lucky, because yesterday the NHL announced their return to play, draft, hub cities, you name it, they announced it yesterday. They didn't include dates, but we're going to go through each sort of thing step by step, starting with, I guess we can start with the phases, because they announced that there will be 4 phases, which I believe we knew already.
Yeah, I think it was out there. Like we all knew that they wanted to work in phases, but in terms of like the specifics in phase 3 and 4, that was more what was up in the air.
Okay, so I guess I can walk you through what phases are. So phase 2, they're hoping will begin the first week of June or early June is, I believe, the date that they're aiming for. It will allow for 6 players in team facilities / on the ice, but there will not be any coaches or other staff allowed at the same time. They'll also have to take part in strict social distancing measures to keep people still away from each other so that stuff doesn't spread. Phase 3, there will be the training camps resuming or starting, because obviously these guys need a bit of time to get back into the feeling of playing and getting back into game shape. And that won't start until at least July 1st. And the rumors are that training camp could potentially be the players are aiming for 3 to 4 weeks, which would put phase 4, which is the resumption of play, the start of the play-in tournament and the round robin tournament and playoffs, in late July, early August at the earliest. So now that I've gone through those phases, if you understood what that meant, because this is going to be a lot of information to take in if you didn't see the Tim and Sid, Gary Bettman speech press conference thing. Do you think that this is a good time frame for the NHL, or do you think that these phases are a little too early or a little too conservative?
You can go first, Zach.
All right. I think it's good. I think it was good for the league to get something out there and have a concrete plan. And I feel like the phases work. 'Cause I think that's like it basically describes the steps. Of course, each phases have their own specific instructions and like phases within phases. But in terms of the return to hockey, that's how you categorize it. Like there's 4 phases, and they nailed it. And I feel like they have a lot of connections and relations with public health organizations, et cetera, et cetera. So they're going to be on top of it. And I think it's just great for the NHL to have a plan and come out and saying, we have a plan, because it's the first North American sports league to, do so. Like the NBA or the MLB hasn't really had anything yet. And so hockey, which is especially a sport that's not really looked at as popular in the US, it's perfect to get fans on board because you're potentially exposing hockey to millions of people who haven't seen the game. Because I always say hockey is, in my total bias opinion, the best sport. It's fast, it's hard hitting, but I feel like the league just doesn't have great PR and great marketing. So I feel like this is perfect and a great step for the league, and I'm happy they announced it and they said this is what's happening. And it all starts with, I guess, the next phase, which is phase 2.
Yeah. I guess, first of all, I'm just really happy that they're going to continue the season and it's not going to come to an end and they're not fully canceling it. And I like how they separated it into 4 phases as well. And I like how they kind of gave some timeline as well to it. Like, yeah, we might be playing games in August. So I think that gives fans something to look forward to. I don't think anything is like definitive yet. Like, I don't know if this is like set in stone. I think there's going to be an adjustment made. I think there's going to be a second wave of this COVID thing. And like, I think it's going to be pushed back. But I do like that the NHL has come out with this timeline and this game plan. And yeah, like you said, it's the first league that's actually done anything. Like, we haven't heard anything from baseball, which is really surprising to me because that's the sport that was supposed to start pretty like when the COVID happened. Like, it was going to start the season. We haven't heard anything from that. NBA, nothing. So yeah, I think just my thing is that you got to stay safe with it. So like, if it's not safe to start in August, then you got to push it back. Like, player safety comes first. And I think I touched on it last episode with Connor. Like, if someone gets sick, like, you're done. NHL is done. There's not going to be a season if someone has COVID. So you just got to be extremely careful with it. But it's good to see that they're thinking a lot about it and they've come out with an idea and a proposal. And I think it could work, but they just got to be cautious.
That was one thing that Bill Daly did bring up, and I believe in a interview after the announcement, that if there is one case, that doesn't mean everything's over. They will still resume play. I think I heard a rumor that it could potentially be 2 cases on a team and they're still allowed to play. Wow. So I don't know if that's set in stone. I don't know if that is true. It's just a rumor I believe I heard. So we'll have to watch that. But why don't we start with phase 3, which is the training camps? Because I guess this is sort of the least talked about aspect of the entire announcement, because justly. But other than the fact that it's beginning July 1st and the players would like it to be 3 to 4 weeks, there isn't really much known about what the plan is. One of the things that the NHL is worried about is that the players may not need that much time to get back into shape, and they may want to play earlier than the 3 to 4 weeks. That was one of Bettman's concerns. So we'll see if that plays a factor in anything. But do you guys have any thoughts on the training camp, or do you want to jump right into the most complicated aspect of this entire announcement, the draft format?
I mean, in my opinion, I don't know if the 3 to 4 weeks is going to help them that much. I think playing exhibition games would help a lot more than just practicing with a few guys on the ice at a time. Like, I still don't think you should jump right into playoffs. I think they should have played some exhibition games or finished off a little bit more of the regular season to kind of end things off with the same amount of games played for every team. I don't like the idea of them jumping right into playoffs. And I don't think 3 to 4 weeks of just skating around, keeping your distance on the ice too, and I don't think that's going to help them get ready into playoff shape. Like you're going
Well,
to put them straight into these games.
do they have to keep their distance on the ice? Is that like
I would assume they do,
Yeah,
but
I
I don't
think
know if we
so.
know for
Oh.
sure.
Yeah, okay. Because I was thinking like they could just have scrimmages, team versus team, like
Yeah, they
or
could.
you split like whites like versus blacks. It's like that sounded much better in my head
Yeah.
than how it came out.
No, I get it. Yeah. I just like it's just so difficult. Like you're going from like a 3-on-3 game
Yeah,
to
I think the teams just
Stanley
need
Cup
to.
playoffs.
I just need to have scrimmages within the organization, and if they're allowed to be in like close proximity to each other, then that's the team's responsibility to get these guys in game shape. Because everyone, the only thing about this, and like you can, like there obviously are a lot of complaints, and even Gary Bettman said we're not in a perfect world, and nothing's going to be perfect, but we're going to embrace that. Like at the end of the day, everyone is starting off on the wrong foot. So it's not fair, but it's not fair for everyone. So therefore it is fair. If you catch my drift.
Yeah.
One of the issues that the Steve Dangle podcast brought up last night is I believe arenas are open in Sweden and recently were opened in Arizona. So people in Arizona and people in Sweden have been able to skate, which might be a bit of an unfair advantage.
Same with
but
I believe in Green Bay. I know someone down there, and they said because their son, I know him, he plays like very competitive hockey. They said the rinks are opening up, so he's gonna hit the ice.
Well, there's actually arenas opening in Ontario as well. There's a rink in Vaughan that opened up recently because like I work at Hockey Life, so we get like customers coming in for like skate sharpenings and like buying new products, and we're like where are you going? Like where are you guys skating? And they tell us like, yeah, we got this place in Vaughan. I think it's called like Gateway or something. If I can look it up, I'll see. But
that
the
name
price
sounds familiar.
the price is ridiculously high, though. I think it's like almost $400 an hour to get ice with not even like a full team. Like you have to keep your distance, and I think it's 5 players max on the ice at a time. And you're not hockey players, you're figure skaters. That's what they classify you as. Like you can rent ice to figure
Wow.
skate, and they're just using it to go on the ice with their equipment and shoot pucks and do like simple drills. And also a rule is that you have to come to the arena fully dressed, except for skates, obviously, and helmet. But and then so you just take your skates in and put your skates on, and then there you go. And then same thing coming back out. So I don't know how a goalie could do that. First of all, he's got to drive with all of his equipment on, and
yeah, I don't think goalies are going to be in public arenas anytime soon. If that's the case, because I did hear the same thing where you have to show up fully dressed.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like I think even in Oakville, there's
I think you're
arenas.
right. I think it's Canlan, if I'm not mistaken. Might be.
I think Canlan's open, but there's not going to be like any scrimmages or anything until at least September. And then I even know like Glen Abbey, I think River Oaks as well. You can rent ice. It's just ridiculously expensive. So yeah, it's crazy.
If you're from Oakville, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Is there anybody else you have no idea?
Yeah, you have no clue. This is gibberish to you.
I guess moving on from the ice thing, because we kind of got sidetracked. Let's talk about the draft format, which this is going to take some explaining, so I might be talking for a while. Hopefully you can follow along. Do you guys sort of have an idea of what the format is?
Yeah, I feel like Gary Bettman did a really good job of putting it into words the other day, because it's still complicated and it still needs explaining. But before he announced it, when it was all theories and people just talking about it, I was like, I have no idea what this is all about. So I'm a little clear, but Connor, run me by it.
All right. So the draft lottery will take place on June 26th. It will be regular odds for each spot, with the teams being 1 to 7 who didn't make the play-in tournament. They will be actual teams. 8 to 15 are going to be letters. And those letters will be for each of the teams that are currently playing in the play-in tournament. If one of those play-in tournament letters wins one of the top 3 spots, they will hold a second draft lottery in between the first round and after the play-in round concludes. Right now, it's still regular odds. In this second lottery, each team will have a 12.5% chance of winning that pick. So that means if the Leafs in Pittsburgh get eliminated in the play-in tournament, they have the exact same odds. Leafs Habs, exact same odds. This theoretically would allow playoff teams who are not in the play-in tournament to have the picks. That's really it. That's actually not as complicated as I thought it would be. So yeah, recap. You got 1 to 7 are actual teams. 8 to 15 are letters. Draft lottery, first one on June 26th. If that results in one of the lettered teams winning one of the top 3 picks or multiple of the top 3 picks, then that second lottery will happen in between the play-in tournament and the first round of the playoffs, which we're going to get into in a second. And they'll have a lottery for that, with each team having a 12.5% chance. After that lottery occurs, it will be based off of points percentage. So the lowest points percentage will go have the earliest pick and then back. I think I explained that well enough.
So I catch your drift here, just to clarify. So
Yeah.
if let's just say if one of the letters gets picked like first overall, then for the next lottery, each team has an equal percentage who didn't make the playoffs from the play-in tournament.
Yeah, so that pick will have each team will have a 12.5%
Yeah, 12.5%. Yeah. Okay. I have a problem with that because I love this draft format. Like, I love how they structured it mostly because, in any given regular season, this many teams gets into the draft lottery. And the plans aren't really the playoffs. You said it before, Connor, where this is like your ticket into the playoffs. So I get how we have, the same amount of people in the playoffs as well as the same amount of people in the draft. But I'm not okay with the fact that each team has an equal chance of getting that pick if it does, in fact, come to that. Because I believe it's 6%, which would have been Montreal's odds, is the highest letter for that pick.
Yeah.
So if it does happen, you're telling me if Pittsburgh gets bounced by Montreal in the first round, and so it's going to be Crosby, Malkin, and Lafreniere. Like, are you kidding me? Like if they get eliminated, the eliminated teams should have been ranked based off their regular season performance and then take those odds. So whoever got eliminated, and so if a letter gets picked first overall, whoever gets eliminated, gets that pick. And I get how you can look at that and say, oh, well, the teams would just see that happen before their play-in round and be like, oh, well, we got it. Let's just tank then. Then change the date of it. Do, both in one night, perhaps, like, I don't understand why the draft lottery has to be before the play-in round and then another one after it. Like, I know you want to get the draft moving, but I don't see why you can't just do the first one in between rounds or between the play-ins and round one and just have it all in one night.
I think one of the more notable parts of that is I think it's creating a second TV event.
I know.
So they have that first draft, and
that's when I think money comes into play. Like, yeah.
Look, they're losing millions of dollars either way. They're going to try to recoup their assets. It's a relatively fair way of doing things because it's making up for the fact that teams like Toronto, who are already going to be in the playoffs, are getting booted. And it's giving them a chance to have a good odds at the first overall pick or top 3 pick to even out the fact that they did kind of get screwed out of the playoffs. I think that's why they sort of done this format. It does hurt Ottawa and Detroit and those really low teams a little bit because I want to say the odds for one of the 8 teams to wins in like the 20 percentiles based on all of their percentages combined. So there's a chance it happens. It's still unlikely, but I think it's just trying to create a second TV event. It's trying to add some fairness for the teams that do get screwed out of the play-in, like Toronto's or potentially Pittsburgh's if your Habs manage to have Price carry them to a series win.
Yeah.
I think it's trying to make up for that.
I don't really care about the 12.5% thing, to be honest. I think it's fine. I'm just happy that there's going to be hockey that's coming back. So if they have to do it like this, then so be it. And even the TV thing, like, yeah, I understand that they have to make the money back, and I think it will draw in a lot of fans the first and the second time. So I'm not really complaining too much. I don't really care that much about this format. It helps the Leafs in some way, I guess, if they get bounced in the first round. So that's a positive you can look at, I guess. But
I'm just saying it has the potential, and I emphasize potential when saying that it can change the landscape of the entire league in a negative way.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
It can make a team. It can give that team the extra push to become a potential dynasty. Like you give Washington Lafreniere, or like you give Toronto Lafreniere, right? You know, then all of a sudden you got all these guys, right? And it can change it. And again, I know being like Leaf fans, for you guys, that would be unreal, and for any team, it would be absolutely unreal. But I just think if you're given a team who, like finished like 5th in the East, like Pittsburgh did, and then they get a generational player, like, are you kidding me? It makes no sense. But again, potentially.
Yeah. I like the idea you had, Zach, actually, of having them ranked based on where they finished in the standings. So I think, they should consider something like that. But honestly, I don't really care. I'm just happy that there's hockey back. If they have to do it like that, then so be it.
And all these are nitpicks at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They're nitpicks.
Overall, I think we can all agree it's a good system.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they could have
been a lot worse.
And like they've been working on this. They've been working on this for so long. They've been thinking of so many ideas. So I'm just glad that they finally have said something. So.
Yeah, the announcement yesterday I think was very positive. But you guys did talk about you're happy that the games are back. So let's talk about this play-in tournament. It has been decided that the matchups will be determined based off of points percentage. So it'll be the regular playoff format, I guess, of 1 seed gets the worst seed, 2, and I guess 1, 8, 2, 7, 3, 6, 4, 5 is the way that it's formatted. So Toronto gets Columbus and Montreal get Pittsburgh. Good luck with Pittsburgh.
Jake Gensel's coming back. I think he's coming back. So that'll be interesting.
We'll see.
Yeah.
So, as I mentioned, decided on points percentage. The top 4 teams in each conference will play a round-robin style format to decide the rankings in the East and the West. So it'll be 1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed, 4 seed, based on that round-robin tournament. Thus, screwing Boston because they were 8 points clear of the second-best team. And now there's a very real possibility they could fall off from that pedestal. So, the other teams will then compete in a 5-game play-in series.
Is it 5 games for sure? Do we know that?
Yeah, best of 5.
They said 5 for sure? Okay.
Yeah. The losers will have a shot at the draft lottery, as we already mentioned. But the winners will move on to the playoffs. This is where it gets a little unclear, because right now it is unknown whether it will be a bracketed playoffs or a seeded playoffs. The players want the playoffs to be reseeded. The NHL wants it to be bracketed. So right now we still don't know exactly what's going to happen. Do you guys want to do the thing that I came up with earlier of the picks? I guess if that's the best way to describe it. You pick each play-in series. Or do you want to talk about the format first?
Let's talk about the format first, and then we can do the picks thing. I didn't know about that. We can do that though.
All right. So, what are your thoughts on the format then? Do you think that this is the way that they should have done it? Do you think that it was unfair for certain teams? Do you think it's fair? Which series are you most looking forward to? And who got the most screwed by this?
Buffalo.
Yeah, yeah, Buffalo.
Yeah.
They were close. Yeah, RIP. But anyways, I like the format. I really like the format. I think it's so unfortunate for Boston that they have to potentially get reseeded. I was saying like maybe you can give them some sort of advantage. Like I don't know, give like the pre-first seed 3 points, like then 2-1-0, then they have to work their way up. I don't know. It's like, and then that's the round robin because Boston deserves to be first in the East. But other than that, I like how the teams that don't play the play-in tournament still have games under their belt, which I think is perfect how they organize that. So everyone's going to the playoffs equal in terms of games played, more or less. And yeah, it gives teams a shot. Again, biased opinion, I am so looking forward to the Montreal-Pittsburgh series because with a best of 5, with everyone coming back like this, if you have I guess arguably the best goalie in the world in the crease for a winner, like win 3, take it all, then you never know what can happen. And so that's going to be crazy seeing, Crosby, Malkin, you just said Gensel's coming back from shoulder surgery. So that will be a welcome addition to the lineup. So I think it's going to be super interesting. I think the last time these two teams played was in 2010 in the playoffs, and Pittsburgh coming off the cup win, I think they choked that because they got cocky. So
I remember that.
we'll
Back
see
when I
what
was a
happens this
Penguins
time.
fan. Back when I was a Penguins fan.
There you go. So yeah, and that's like, and I think Montreal just basically they had Halak, and he had his only hot streak with the Montreal Canadiens ever. And then Carey Price stepped in. So like, can he do the same with Pittsburgh? Who knows? I think the squad's different. And I think Jake Gensel coming back again, huge plus for them. And, they got a bunch of guys at the point, like Letang, Dumoulin, all these guys. So I think Pittsburgh has the advantage, but hey, heavy offense versus, I guess, a defensive-minded, fast team in Montreal. It's going to be crazy. And yeah, Boston got screwed the most. I'll answer that as well. And I think I already mentioned it, but they did.
Yeah, I guess going back to the format, I don't mind it too much. I do think it's a little bit silly having teams like, no offense, but I don't know Montreal if they really deserve to be in the playoffs.
They do not deserve to be in the playoffs. They
Yeah.
were on a slippery slope that was trending downward, and don't think it was going to happen.
And especially like since it's a best 3 out of 5, like that could really go either way. So like you said, if Carey Price turns into what he's been for like Team Canada, for example, he could just carry them to a series win.
And the thing is, like, you get Gensel back, right? But Montreal, like, you got Byron at full health and you got Drouin. And since they were injured so early in the season, people forget Habs had that third spot in the Atlantic locked up for a long period of time, like near October into like maybe November, early December. And then Drouin and Byron got hurt. And that's 2 speedy guys off of a system that is, based mostly around speed. So you put,
they're a good team.
These guys are back in the lineup, and Carey Price, Shea Weber, who had like crazy injuries nearing the end of the regular season. They said it was going to end his career, and this guy comes back in a week. But I guarantee you, he was not playing to the best of his ability. How good is he? So you have all these guys coming back, and then Carey Price. Like I don't know, that's a 24 seed that is dangerous for the 24th best team in the league supposedly.
Yeah, and Carey Price is going to be at full health as well, which I don't think we can ignore either. He's suffered with injuries for a long time, and him finally getting healthy and being fully healthy for playoff series is going to be scary. So we only have 10 minutes left in this new Zoom call, so we might have to break it up again. But we'll try to finish the NHL portion of this. Then we can do really quickly afterwards soccer. There's a little bit of basketball news, and that'll be it. We got to do hot takes too. So in the NHL, let's do the predictions now, I guess, because I think I have that pulled up. round robins, what do you predict the East to look like? The 4 teams are the Boston Bruins, Tampa Bay Lightning, Washington Capitals, and Philadelphia Flyers.
I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Lightning because I think if Vasilevsky can catch fire, they're in good shape because they were first in goals for the entire season. And we know what they were capable of from last year. It didn't quite start out like that, but they were, floating around 500. Then they shot off. So, this team's still like very threatening, and they figured out their defensive issues later on in the season. So if Vasilevsky can catch fire, then you have the number one offense just grilling you like Kucherov and Stamkos. It's I like Tampa, but Boston was 8 points ahead of everyone else for a reason. So I'm going to say Tampa, but it's going to be very close and very interesting.
All right, and who do you have 2, 3, 4?
2, 3, 4. Well, if I'm going Tampa 1, I'm going to go Boston 2. I'm going to go Washington 3 and Philly 4. I think Carter Hart, being in his first official playoffs, I guess, might be a little nervous, especially coming back to play being so young. We'll see. I wonder how the young people versus the older veterans are going to respond, how different it's going to be. We'll see.
All right, Nathan, give me your 1 to 4.
Yeah, I'm thinking here. I'm definitely going to take Boston 1 just because I think they're extremely hungry from last year's playoffs as well, losing in the Stanley Cup final. They're going to be really motivated to finish with that number 1 seed, especially since they did have such a big gap. They really want to keep that. 2, 3, and 4 is really tough. I don't know if this is a little bit of a hot take, but I'm going to take Philly at 2. I think Philly has had a great year, and I think being like this round robin format, I think they could sneak in a win against Tampa. I think they could win against Washington. So I think they might surprise some people. I think there will be a little bit of an upset here. So I'll take Philly at 2, and then I'll go Tampa 3, Washington 4.
All right. Now, who do you have in the West? The 4 teams are the St. Louis Blues, the Colorado Avalanche, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, and the Dallas Stars. We're going to do this quick fire because we only have 6 minutes left in the meeting.
Okay, so number 1, I'm going to go St. Louis Blues. I think they ride, like Jordan Binnington, and they get the job done. And I think they're going to lock up the first spot. Number 2, Vegas Golden Knights. I don't know why. I just think they have that magic. Number 3, Dallas Stars. I don't know. I like Ben Bishop. And honestly, I forgot the 4th team. So
Colorado
at 4.
Actually, okay. Let me switch Dallas and Colorado. I'll put them at 3.
All right.
They've played they've been around in the playoffs before. I just don't think they still don't have that experience yet to lock up number 1 in that scenario.
Okay.
All right, Aiden.
I'll go Colorado 1. I'll go St. Louis 2, Vegas 3, Dallas 4.
All right. Qualifying round matchups in the East. First, we'll start off with Zach's Montreal Canadiens in the 12 seed against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Who do you have taking that series?
I'm just going to say Montreal. I don't know why. I genuinely think Carey Price gets hot and the whole hockey world throws their arms up and complains that they won, but I think they'll do it. I think it's going to be a disaster, but I think it's going to happen.
And then, wow, geez, imagine the Leafs and the Canadians meet in the playoffs after that somehow.
I think it's still Boston, unfortunately, for Toronto.
Yeah,
actually, depends.
Or like later on, I mean, like Eastern Conference Final or something. I'll take Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh has it.
All right, seed 6, Carolina against seed 11, New York Rangers.
Ooh, I like the Rangers. Give me Panarin and Henrik Lundqvist just carrying. Like Henrik Lundqvist, this might be his last hurrah, right? So
we don't even know if he's going to play though. It might be Shesterkin and Georgiev.
I don't know, but do you put in the veteran who has the playoff experience?
He's also potentially been in Sweden.
That's a tough one. That's a really tough one.
I would, and I have no idea what kind of shape he's in right now, being his age and in quarantine. But regardless, it's his last go. And I think they have goal scorers up front, and we'll see what Capo Caco can do.
All right, Aiden.
It's tough. This is really tough. I know Carolina has an edge. I'll go New York. I'll go New York. Panarin and Zibanejad. They just tear it up.
All right. The New York Islanders in seed 7 versus the Florida Panthers, seed 10.
Aiden, you can go first this time.
I'm gonna say Florida. Florida's gonna do it. Florida, they have to be so motivated because they weren't in a playoff spot. They were like barely there. So I think they're gonna win it.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. Not very entertaining, but yeah, I do think Florida has the edge. They do have Bobrovsky, who's been wasn't great in his first couple of starts, but I think he finally gets the job done. And you got guys like Huberdeau who can put the puck in the net. So I think Florida takes it.
All right. Final in the East, and then we're going to take a quick break. The Toronto Maple Leafs against the Columbus Blue Jackets, who will be getting pretty closely back to health, with the Toronto Maple Leafs also getting back Ilya Mikheyev and Jake Muzzin, which has been confirmed.
I am going to take Toronto in that series because I don't think – well, first of all, Columbus is not the same team they were last year. They're not the same team that swept Tampa Bay. They lost a lot of pieces. And although they're still a strong team – I mean, I like them up front, but I think Toronto is just bound to play Boston and lose.
All right.
Fair
Aiden?
enough. Yeah, I'll go Toronto. I was just looking at the Blue Jackets roster and stuff, and they got nobody. They have a decent back end. Like they have Jones and Werenski, but if you look up front, like Cam Atkinson, nothing really special.
Don't sleep on Cam
Josh
Atkinson.
Anderson,
Josh Anderson, who was a beast in fantasy for me a couple years ago, but
Pierre-Luc Dubois, they got a good team.
Leafs should win that series. I think they should win it. They could even sweep that series. I think they, they're gonna win. They're gonna win that series.
All right, and with that, we will continue the West in 1 second. We'll be right back. Now, let's hit up the Western Conference because we just did the East. We're back from our little break because Zoom puts a limit on the amount of time you can spend on a Zoom call with 3 or more people. So, yeah, we'll start in the West or wrap up in the West, and we got to hit the hub cities and next season, and then we'll do a little bit of basketball news, which broke during our show, and Bundesliga happened yesterday. I'll touch on something a tiny bit, but not much. In the East, we can expand a bit more on your East teams if you really want to before we hit the West. Is there anything you wanted to add to your explanations for the other games, or are you happy with what you said?
No, I think we nailed the East. I think we
you
got,
did nail the East, just in case you wanted to add a bit more depth to one of your answers.
Yeah, no, I think I'm good. Like I'm more curious to see where the round 1 goes, but obviously we can't start breaking it down too far in advance because we have no idea where it's going to end up. But I think it's going to be interesting to see where the teams end up after the reshuffle of the top 4 seeds.
Yeah, the NHL doesn't even know how it's going to look like.
Yeah.
So we can't make any guesses until they tell us what they're going to do. But in the West, you got the 5th seed in the Edmonton Oilers taking on the Chicago Blackhawks, which is one of my favorite series. Who do you have? The Oilers with McDavid and the is it Rocket Richard? He didn't win the Rocket Richard.
I think Ovi got it. Yeah.
He won the Art Ross. That's it. Leon Draisaitl. So do you have Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews, or do you have not Sidney Crosby? That was in the East. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl.
I'm gonna take Edmonton on that one. I think they're just too fast, and if they can get into game shape, and like I said earlier, with the younger guys versus the older veterans adapting to the game, if the young guys can adapt quicker and they can use their speed, in terms of an aging Chicago Blackhawks team, which to be fair, also maybe should have not been in the playoffs, but I think Edmonton is gonna get it with their speed, and they put up points like it's nothing, man. It's ridiculous. They are so gross. It is It's going to be a sight to see, though. I do like that series. I agree with you, Connor. Very interesting battle here.
Yeah, Edmonton's a really good team, and it's hard to go against them. I had my hot take last week actually was that the Blackhawks and Leafs meet in the Stanley Cup final. So I'm
Hey,
gonna
right
stick
so far.
I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna go Blackhawks. They pull off the upset here. I think that's probably the only upset that we're gonna see in this play-in series. But it's really hard to go against the Oilers. Like the Oilers are stacked up
Yeah.
front. It's just they're lacking a little bit of depth, and then there's a question mark in net as well. I know there's also that question mark in Chicago with Corey Crawford. Like, is he going to be good enough to lead them to a series win and beyond that? But I think just the Blackhawks in experience, being Kane, Taves, DeBrincat, I think he's going to come back and he's going to have a hot playoff. So I think don't count the Blackhawks out. I don't know if it's that. It's going to be an upset, but I think it's fair to say that the Blackhawks have a chance in this series.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Next, you have. I don't know if this. I think we have to go with one team on this one, and I'll explain afterwards. But the Nashville Predators versus the Arizona Coyotes. So Nashville is the 6th seed. Arizona is the 11th seed.
Nashville.
You like Nashville? I like Arizona. I like Taylor Hall.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like finds some second wind being in the playoffs, and Phil Kessel's still hanging around there, right? Like he's he can put the puck in the net when he wants to, right? So I think again it's all about catching fire coming into this, and I like the star power up front. I do like Pekka Rinne though. He's one of my favorite goalies in the league. But I like Arizona. I'm going to take them on this one.
Mm-hmm. And even like Darcy Kemper, right? He's having a terrific year.
What was your pick, Connor?
I'm going Nashville purely for the fact that Taylor Hall wins the draft lottery every year. And if they lose, he will probably win the draft lottery, which will just make the NHL just absolutely blow up.
Yeah.
But how amazing would that be though? If Taylor Hall won the draft lottery again.
I would think it's rigged in some fashion, but I think it might just be a crazy coincidence.
You don't already think it's rigged?
That'd be funny. That'd be really funny.
Unfortunately,
I think it was rigged.
I need one more Taylor Hall.
One more
first overall pick, and then I'll say it's rigged.
Yeah.
All right. Next series, there are a lot of every Canadian team made the play-ins in this conference. The Vancouver Canucks, which are the 7 seed, taking on the Minnesota Wild, the 10 seed. This is a very interesting series.
I like the Canucks. I like what the young guns are doing there. If they can get Pettersson and Besser up to full strength, I think Pettersson is going to have to use his speed because he's still not quite there in terms of his build. But if him and Besser can get on the same page and Quinn Hughes is still firing on all cylinders, and then you still got Bo Horvat, and I think you're in good shape.
Yeah, I'll go with Vancouver as well. They added Tyler Toffoli at the deadline as well, and Besser's.
That's right.
I think Besser did come back at the end of the year, so he got bumped up to the first line. Toffoli got moved down. That gives them 2 pretty solid lines. And then Jacob Markstrom's having a very good year as well in Vancouver. Like you said, Quinn Hughes is tearing it up. I just think Minnesota's a little bit too old. I don't know about Devin Dubnyk in net, really. So I think Vancouver has it. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's interesting because I thought he was pretty good. I think that he's one of the biggest upsides. And you saying that Minnesota's already old is terrifying considering they still have like 10 years on Sutter's contract and Parise. So we'll see. This might be their last playoff run before they implode. But the only all-Canadian matchup is the only one left. The Calgary Flames taking on the Winnipeg Jets. Another very interesting series considering that Winnipeg is without Dustin Byfuglien. Who do you have, Winnipeg or do you have Calgary? Calgary being number 8, Winnipeg being number 9.
I'll go Calgary. I like well, first of all, I've always loved Giordano, and although he's aging, I love him as a captain, and if anything, he's been getting better with age, which I find I respect that part of his game. He's able to adapt. And then you got, Kachuk, Goudreau, you got a bunch of guys up front, Huberto. Oh wait, no,
No.
Not Huberto.
not
Uh,
Huberto.
Who did you
I'm
say?
totally blanking on someone.
Monahan,
Lindholm?
Goudreau.
Monahan. I was thinking about
Monahan.
Monahan.
There you go.
I don't know why I mixed those two up. But anyway, you got those guys, and although there's been ups and downs for, I think Monahan's had a couple of voids of scoring. He hasn't been able to get his game quite on track. Same with Goudreau for that matter. But especially if like Lindell can do good, then we'll see where it goes.
Aiden?
This one's really tough, but I guess I'll go the other way. I think I'll go Winnipeg. I'll take Connor Hellebuck over is it Cam Talbot in net in Calgary?
David Riddick or
It'd be
Cam Talbot,
Riddick.
yeah.
David Riddick. Yeah, I think I'll take Hellebuck over him. And then I think, Winnipeg just has a bit more upside. Gaudreau wasn't having a good year. Like, he was having a good year, but not like up to his level. Line, Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele. I know that defense is a question mark, but hopefully Hellebuck can hold the fort. I think I'll take Winnipeg.
All right. That's going to be a very close series because Hellebuck has had
Yeah.
a crazy, crazy good year. I think he's in like the MVP conversation. So we'll see if he ends up getting that. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that series. It's going to be very high energy and there's a lot of experience and youth on both sides. So who knows? But yeah, that was our predictions for the entire play-in tournament and the round robin. So I guess all that we really have left to talk about in terms of the announcement yesterday is where are these games going to get played? NHL announced that there will be 2 hub cities, one for the East and one for the West. There could be a new one for the Eastern Conference Finals and Stanley Cup Finals, is what I've seen. That is just a rumor. That was not confirmed, I don't believe, but I could see Vegas potentially doing that. Who knows? But they still haven't decided on which city is going to host. They did, however, release a list of the cities that they are currently considering playing in. I'll list off the cities, and then we're going to make our predictions based off of them. Even though it is still possible, Bettman said, that another city could come in and potentially win the bid or have access, I guess, or have the ability to host these games. It isn't set in stone that these 10 teams are the only cities being considered. So the current cities under consideration are the Edmonton Oilers, or Edmonton, Vancouver, with the Vancouver Canucks, Toronto, Columbus, Chicago, Dallas, Los Angeles, Minnesota/St. Paul, which is where they play, the Pittsburgh Penguins in Pittsburgh, and Las Vegas. Now, before you make your picks, it is notable that the Canadian government and the NHL has said if a Canadian city is selected by the NHL, players and everybody were coming from a different country would still have to go through the 14-day quarantine process, which for the NHL is a no-go. So they're still talking back and forth, the government and the NHL, and there is potential to find a middle ground. But what are your way too early predictions for which 2 cities get chosen as the hub cities?
I totally agree with what they're doing with the Canadian border because they do have a tough border right now in terms of coming in from other countries and quarantining. So I respect that. Although Edmonton has been very low in terms of cases out of respect to the 3 Canadian cities. So if it's going to be in a Canadian city, I would expect it to be there where the cases are lower. if it's in the States, I don't know, Las Vegas is always a good place. I don't really know about the residency in Las Vegas, but I don't think it's as large as, the tourist attractions. And again, I don't know nothing about anything, right? So just put that into perspective. But I think that would also be an ideal place to do the games. I don't know if they have to be on the East Coast and West Coast, because I just chose two West Coast cities. But again, I don't really think I think it's anyone's guess.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think I'll stick with Vegas. That's kind of what I've been saying. I think there's like a little hub of like hotels that they have in Vegas that the players can stay at, the coaches and etc. So I'll go with Vegas. And as much as I'd like to see it in Toronto, I'm not sure because like the cases are going up right now. I don't know when these games will be getting played, but I don't know. You kind of had a convincing argument with Edmonton there. I think I might have to go with Edmonton, Alberta as the destination.
Edmonton has been pushing very, very hard to get this in Edmonton. That's one of the things that has been notable. Jason Kenney, their premier, I think it's Jason, correct? Is it Jason? I have no idea. Premier Kenney has been pushing very hard for this. Trudeau has stood by his arguments that they still have to go through the 14-day quarantine, which is going to be an issue in terms of having NHL games here. It sounds more and more like Vegas will host games almost guaranteed. Whether or not they end up doing the Eastern Conference and Western Conference finals and the Stanley Cup there as an own isolated event remains to be seen. I think that's most likely, and I think that's the best outcome, because for this play-in tournament, I think you need as many facilities as possible. And I don't know if Vegas necessarily has many ice rinks or arenas where games can be played and broadcast. That's another big issue. They need the facilities to be able to broadcast games. My predictions are that they figure out some sort of solution and it ends up being in Toronto and Edmonton. I think that it'll be both Canadian cities, and then they'll do the Cup final and conference finals in Vegas. I think that's a good outcome. I think the quarantine is a massive issue, and if they don't waive that quarantine period, I think it probably won't happen in Canada because of the way that the US has handled everything and the fact that it's just not doing as much in terms of containment or restrictions, I guess is a fair way to say it, as Canada is doing. So it's easier to put games on there. And in that event, I think it'll probably go to probably Vegas will just get the Western Conference and the finals. And I think it has to be an East Coast team just based off time zones. I don't think playing games on the West Coast is necessarily possible with the amount of games you're going to have to play, unless you want to have guys getting up to play a game at noon, which is what you're going to have to do in order to broadcast those games to people on the East Coast at a reasonable time throughout the day. Like you could do a 3 o'clock, a 6 o'clock, or 7 o'clock, and a 10 o'clock, and that's 3 games in a day. But yeah, I think it'll probably, it's tough. Maybe Pittsburgh. Could potentially see Pittsburgh doing it. Columbus has been in the conversation for a long time, so Columbus wouldn't shock me either. But there are still so many question marks. I'm curious as to whether or not you guys think that the quarantine thing with the Canadian government will get waived if they can end up having this as a sort of a NBA-style bubble format that they're trying to do.
I don't know. It's hard to say. I think Trudeau's gonna be pretty strict with it. It's gonna take a lot to change that 14-day quarantine. In my opinion, I think the NHL should just say like, yeah, we'll do the 14-day quarantine. And in my opinion, that might even help because you want these players to be healthy, right? You want to make sure that they're not coming into your country with anything. So it might even be better if they do quarantine for 14 days.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's gonna let up on again, it all depends on the cases and how many people are going into hospitals. The numbers going up, down. Again, not a doctor, but yeah, again, it all depends. Will he make an exception for the NHL? I don't think so. I think that looks bad.
Yeah.
So if he's going to do something, it's going to be for the whole country. And if not, the NHL is going to have to find somewhere in our neighbor down south.
All right. So let's touch on the potential start date of next season. So not the play-in, the tournament, the actual next season. And then we'll hit quickly basketball. As I mentioned, we've had a couple new things break while we've been recording. And soccer, I'll just say stuff about Davies. So yeah, next season, the final tip we have is the NHL is comfortable starting in late October, November, December, and Bettman mentioned in the interview with Tim and Sid that it is technically possible that the first game of the season could be the Winter Classic.
Damn.
What
That'd
are
be
your
exciting.
It would be insane. What are your thoughts on those potential start dates? And are you excited for a potential Winter Classic to be the first game of the season?
Yeah, I think it's definitely an exciting proposal for sure. I again, I have no I don't think anyone has any idea where this is going to be come even in July. So if let's just say theoretically things slow down, people are still, social distancing because there's no vaccine, then potentially I could see like a late October start, depending on if the players have an appropriate off season that can match one normally. If not, then yeah, I would see pushing the day. I would think November is when they start, maybe even December. But having a Winter Classic, regardless if it's New Year's Day or not, I think that's a great way to kick things off, especially if fans are allowed in attendance, because that's the biggest audience hockey can get. So what better way to welcome everyone back on a scale as big as that, right?
Yeah, I think if they stick with what their plan is right now and they do start this season in August, then the next season can probably start in, I'm going to say December, maybe even January. Kicking off the season New Year's Day would be phenomenal. That would be huge for the NHL. And making it an outdoor game too, that's crazy. Hopefully there's going to be fans there, right?
They should also consider the World Juniors during the Christmas stretch if that's happening as well.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I don't think that'll happen. I think that you can't have international people coming to a centralized location.
Fair enough.
I think that's too big of a risk. It's tough enough to do 2 countries, never mind 15 different countries. So
yeah.
Well, what do you
unfortunately,
mean? Players in Europe right now, though, they're going to come to Canada.
Organized, I guess, but
you're also having the staff though, a bunch of staff and members that are traveling with you. So I see that argument. I see both sides.
Yeah, I think. I think the next season's definitely going to be shortened. So because I think that they want to start the season after that back to regular schedule in October. So yeah, I can see the season starting in January, early January, and yeah. Is there another part to that question?
Don't think so, but I do think Bettman said they are planning on doing 82 games.
Oh,
so
okay.
We'll see if that actually happens. There are speculations that there might be another wave when the fall hits. So December might be likely. Who knows? I'm not optimistic about having fans back in seats for a while, but
yeah.
Again, I'm not a doctor. What do I know? Maybe it is possible. Maybe it isn't. That's for the doctors and for the professionals to figure out, not for 3 university students who are hosting a podcast on a Zoom call in their homes. But yeah, the good thing is we're probably going to have hockey back for at least a month of that playoff series, because I believe that's how long they said it would happen. But yeah, I guess that's sort of the hockey stuff. Do you guys have any thoughts on the format of everything and how the NHL did in terms of this announcement? I guess I should ask this. Do you think that the NHL did well with this announcement? Do you think it was a good job by Bettman on the Tim and Sid broadcast? And do you think that it was rolled out in a proper way?
Yes, I think the NHL did it right. It was a perfect timing for an announcement, and that's all it was at the end of the day, was an announcement. They said, hey guys, we are still very committed to continuing the postseason and I guess these play-in rounds. So that, on top of the fact that they're the first league out of the 4 major North American sport leagues to announce this, I think it's a big win for the NHL, and I think it's a big win for society, as maybe a little bit of normalcy will return into our lives shortly down the road.
Yeah, there's not really much more that I can add to that. I think Bettman, had a pretty good press conference. He seemed, confident, but he kind of left the door open, I guess, for other possibilities. And like, he's open to making changes, and health comes first. I think that's kind of what he mentioned as well. So, yeah, I'm just happy that they finally, made an announcement, because there's been a lot of speculation, and I think they handled it the right way. So hopefully this plan that they put together works out and they can stick by it. And if there is a change to the schedule, hopefully they can, persevere through that, and just keep us updated, because the fans, they want to be notified and they want to have something to look forward to.
All right, and with that, we're going to move on to hockey, or move on from hockey. We'll hit basketball and soccer really, really quickly, because I have one more question for Zach, and then we got to do our hot takes and get out of here, because we have been going for quite a bit of time. Let's hit basketball really quickly. The NBA, or not NBA, but Adrian Wojnarowski and Sam Sharemia have both combined to break some information. Waj said that the NBA and NBAPA are speaking and finalizing an agreement about a limit to the number of family members who can go with players to the hub / Orlando, where it's probably going to be. So that's a good sign in terms of family members are going to be able to go, which limits the issue of having players away from their families for that extended period of time, which is an idea I threw out on Twitter a couple days ago. But do you think this is a good thing for the NBA? And do you think that means they're inching closer to a return, or do you think they're still a while from playing?
Well, it's definitely progress, because you have to figure everything out. And, I think that in terms of the rule itself, I think it's good for the players' safety. Again, if it is able to be conducted in a safe manner, then yeah, I totally agree with it. I think people are just trying to get the ball rolling, and every little announcement, even something as small as, all right, they've announced that 5 family members, that means they've announced something. That means they're working on something and came to the conclusions. That means they're still working, and that means this is definitely still on the table. So any news for the NBA is good news.
Yeah, exactly. I think even now that the NHL has put out this proposal, I think the NBA kind of is more open to doing something similar to what the NHL is doing. Maybe they're actually going to come out with a proposal of their own pretty soon. So yeah, I liked how they put out this information. I think it's a good idea that they can bring their family members over to the hub with them. So yeah, it's just good that we're getting some more information.
All right. And then the predicted training camps are to begin for early July, and then a tournament, which I believe they're doing a 1-16, which both East and West playoff teams, they'll just play each other. So we'll come to a final, whether it's 2 East teams or 2 West teams, doesn't matter.
Raptors would play the Grizzlies if that were the case. Raptors would be the 3rd seed.
And then they would get the Lakers, I believe, in the next round.
Damn.
No, I think it'd be in the conference final.
Oh, is it the conference final?
If the bracket I saw was correct, again, I don't think I don't know if they're going to do like a reseeding or a bracket. I feel like NBA is more poised to do a bracket. But
yeah.
Lakers are 1 right now, right? They're ranked
Bucks.
first?
They're 2.
Bucks is 1. Okay.
They're 2.
Okay.
Raptors 3, and then 4 would be Clippers? No. Maybe
the Clippers.
Was it the Clippers? Or was it I don't know. Doesn't matter. They still got to figure that stuff out. But I guess that's notable because it's the first progress we've actually heard from the NBA in terms of getting closer to resuming play and resuming the playoffs and all that stuff. So we'll keep an eye on that. But unless you guys have any other thoughts on the NBA stuff, I can quickly talk about soccer and then ask Zach one quick question, and we'll get out of here.
Yeah, no, I think just any news is good news out of the NBA. So I'm glad to hear that Woj is still out there
Yeah.
reporting the facts.
Yeah, anything that any news is good news. That means the Raptors are one step closer to back-to-back championships. So, yeah.
All right, so quickly, soccer, Bundesliga is still playing. The Davies played yesterday against Dortmund, had a great first half. I thought he was a little mediocre second half. He ran and caught up to Erling Haaland, who is a striker for Dortmund. I believe he hit 34 kilometers an hour sprinting, which is like top 10 fastest times or
Yeah.
speeds ever recorded in the Bundesliga. So he's killing it over there. And other than that, if you want to get my opinions on all the other soccer stuff, as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, go listen to the MLS Multiplex podcast. I host it with two guys from the MLS Multiplex, which is the MLS section of Fansided. Drew Hubbard and Josh Boland and I were joined next week by a guest, hopefully, who's another writer for the website. We're going to talk NWSL because they've announced plans to resume their season, which is very notable. But did you guys see, and we're going to do this really quickly because we only have 10 minutes left in this call and we'd like to wrap it up without having to do another one. Did you guys see that the MLS is mad at the Athletic?
No.
No, I didn't see that.
The MLS issued a statement to employees and team personnel that leaking information, specifically to the Athletic, could get you fired and a $1 million fine.
Wow. So they want all the smoke with that one.
Yeah, so they are so
Jeez.
frustrated with the guys at the Athletic breaking information that Don Garber, who's the MLS commissioner, has made this statement to the rest of the league, which then got leaked to the Athletic, which I thought was hysterical. But yeah, mad props to the Athletic. You guys are killing it right now in terms of MLS coverage. They found out stuff before the players have even found out about it. So
Wow.
they're doing really, really well over there. So keep doing your thing, guys, even though you've never listened to this thing ever, and you probably never will. But finally, before we end, Zach, I have one question for you.
All right.
And it's going to be, you have to tell a story.
Okay.
And it's about the time where you fake cried on TV.
Okay. Yes.
You knew
Oh,
exactly what I was
my.
thinking about.
This is a
Wow.
great story. All right. So, it's Leafs and Bruins, round 1, game 7. I'm still living in Toronto. My rent is almost out, so I'm almost homebound. So I go to the Maple Leaf Square every single time I could. And it was game 7. And I would always just show up there in a Leaf jersey, just like, have fun. And I hate the Bruins, man. And I also have lived in Toronto my entire life. So I do have a soft spot for them, which is odd since I'm a Habs fan. But I don't hate them. I hate the Bruins, so I want the Bruins to lose. And so I'm out there wearing a Leaf jersey, disgracing my family, cheering for the Leafs. And I'm in sport media. I know some things are happening. So I see like the jib operator with the camera where they show all the fans. They go over Maple Leaf Square, and I'm like, all right, we're going to the front. So I go to the front, and the Leafs lose, and there's some places clearing out. So I know, okay, directors usually look for the sad emotional shots versus the happy shots. I knew they were going to be coming out to Maple Leaf Gardens, or not Maple Leaf Gardens, to Maple Leaf Square, because it was on the road in Boston, right? So they want to get all the sad emotions. So I just crouch down, start shaking my head, put my hood up. I'm cradling my little Budweiser red light. And then I see the camera just go 5 feet from my face like this.
Oh,
in
he's
which
got
Aiden
the
is showing
footage.
it, where it's right there. And look at that. The rest is history.
And Kintaro.
Kintaro.
And I
patted you
yeah.
on the shoulder.
I just kind of put together the puzzle, and I said, you know what, if I do this, I bet you I can get 15 seconds of fame. And you bet, I took the subway back to my apartment, and then the second I got service again, walking back up, my phone just blew up with all my friends. Oh, you're on TV. And again, it was just fun, 15 seconds of fame, everyone's got to have it one time or another.
That is legendary. That was
Yeah, that was great.
a good top off to a terrible night.
Yeah, I remember watching that, and yeah, my first reaction was like, "Oh my god, that's Zach!" It's like, "Oh my god, that's Zach!" And then yeah, my mom and dad were watching it too, and I made them like rewind it and stuff. Yeah, it was funny. It was funny.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I got I wrote it. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was somewhere off in the corner of that picture somewhere. Not on screen though.
Yeah,
But-
yeah, you were there.
Oh, you were there too, Connor?
Yes, I
Yeah.
was just not
Oh,
on
damn.
TV. I didn't fake cry like
It was
Oh.
me, Connor and Kentaro. We all pulled up.
Yeah, that was a good time.
Yeah, it was.
We only have 4 minutes left in the Zoom call, so hot takes. As you know, Zach, because you've done this show before, we have a recurring segment on the show where we do our hot takes. We give a hot take every week about some sort of thing in the world of sports. And this week, you have one, I assume. Aiden, you have one, which you've sort of previewed but didn't tell us about earlier. So you're going to lead off as I
Okay.
try to come up with one because I like to come up with them on the spot because I'm an idiot.
Okay, so I've already said this season on the show that the Leafs are going to win the Stanley Cup, and the Chicago Blackhawks are going to be facing them in the Stanley Cup final. So somebody's going to have to win the Conn Smythe. There was some news that broke today. I'm not going to say the news right now. I'll say the player first. The winner of the Conn Smythe Trophy is going to be Nick Robertson. Nick Robertson is going to win the Conn Smythe Trophy this year. He's going to be on the Leafs playoff roster.
Okay.
He's going to get bumped up to first line. He's going to kill it with Austin Matthews, and he's going to tear it up. He's going to be like Jake Gensel was to Sidney Crosby, and Robertson's going to win the Conn Smythe. That's going to be the story. And Steve Dangle is going to get so many memes for calling him a defenseman to begin the year, and now he's the Conn Smythe Trophy winner, and the Leafs are Stanley Cup champs.
Damn.
That is scalding hot, and I don't know if
Yeah.
your line quite reaches that far, but we'll see. Zach, what is your hot take?
All right. So we talked about the NHL situation a little bit today. So my hot take is that out of this whole, COVID Cup, quarantine, NHL losing a crap ton of money, I think out of it we are going to get an expansion Canadian team. And I'm going to say either a second Toronto team or a Quebec Nordiques team. I'm aiming for a Quebec City team. But yeah, definitely think the NHL needs more revenue, and they already got Seattle coming into the picture. And so to put another team in Canada would just be another option for a revenue line, and it would help them get it out. And more city, more fun, more chaos, more hockey. So I think the NHL will announce in the future another Canadian team because they need money.
Nice.
All right.
I like that one.
Yeah, it's pretty good. My hot take is that the MLB will be the first league to resume play in North America because we haven't heard anything from them.
Nothing.
But that's my hot take. We have less than a minute left in the Zoom call. So with that, I want to thank everybody for listening. Zach, plug your
Yes.
stuff. Cliff,
Thank you
Yeah,
guys
quickly.
for having me. It's been an absolute honor. ENHL, it supports Project Hope. Go check it out. It's a good time at Twitch, ENHL_playoffs20.
Yeah, thanks for
right.
coming on, Zach. Really
Thank you, guys.
appreciate it. We're going to be
Yeah.
doing some more of these, so stay tuned. Follow us on all social medias. I'll try and link them all in the description. This Zoom call is going to end any second.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for listening. I've been Connor Summerall. Below me or whatever with the mustache is in Sylophant. Zach Finch is the other guy. Thank you very much for joining Zach. Check out the ENHL playoffs, and we will see you next week. Peace.
Just got it in time.